Last Saturday, I woke up in the middle of the night. No big deal, but I immediately noticed something wrong with my left ear. I had no pain, but every few seconds I would hear a loud crackling noise in my ear. I have experienced an earwax blocking before, but I had never heard this sound before. This made me concerned, so I tried Googling my symptoms, but to no avail. It's probably just an earwax blockage, right? I think to myself. I stuffed a cotton pad with olive oil in my ear to soften the earwax and returned to bed. After putting the cotton pad in my ear, the crackling sound stopped, but it was replaced with some soft ticking sounds. It made it hard to fall asleep, but eventually, I managed to drift off. The next morning, the noises in my left ear had stopped. Great, but there was still wax in my ear, because I could hear it move when I put pressure on my ears. Over the course of the next days, I tried to remove the earwax myself. I put water in my ear, more cotton pads with olive oil, and I even tried to get it out with tweezers. I know I shouldn't have done that, but I was impatient and really wanted to just get the earwax out and be done with it. All these methods failed to get the earwax out, until today. I was once again stupidly poking around with tweezers inside my ear, when I finally managed to grab the earwax. Excited, I took it out and wanted to look at what my ear had just birthed. To my horror, the blockage in my left ear was not caused by earwax, but it was caused by what looked like a kind of tiny moth. This creature had somehow managed to climb into my ear at 2 a.m., caused me to wake up and couldn't leave my ear because of the cotton pad I had stuffed inside. I am still trying to process that I had a dead moth in my ear for half a week. Edit. Thank you for the awards and for all of your own earbug horror stories in the comments. It makes me feel less unfortunate to have experienced this. Also, to answer a common question, I posted a picture of the moth in the comments and people have been asking how big it was. It looks pretty big in the picture, but it was only around a centimeter big. TL, doctor, I thought I had an earwax blockage, tried removing it on my own, turned out it was a moth trying to make my ear its home or something. This was a while back, when I was in my early 20s. I wasn't a heavy drinker, but when I did I wanted something nice. My liquor of choice was, and still is, rum. Nothing crazy mind you, like 40 a bottle. But expensive for me at the time. NY housemates on the other hand were party guys. They would line up shots, shotgun beers, etc. Usually didn't bother me since my bedroom was in the finished basement and well insulated. But then I started noticing my rum didn't taste right. At first I thought it was just me, but it definitely wasn't. They were pouring shots and then filling it back up with water. Knowing how they would pour several shots then all pound them together, I planned my revenge. Bought a new bottle, emptied it into a different container, and then filled it back up with Thai fish sauce. I never did find out which, if not all, of them it was. But nothing of mine ever went missing again. For reference, I'm 15 and I run a small mowing company in my neighborhood. I have been saving up to buy a new mower to replace my current 16-plus-year-old one. I went into the only Home Depot in my city that had a 750 Honda mower in stock. I originally found an associate, and tried to get the floor model, but since they had one in stock, I couldn't buy the floor model. Oh well, I pulled up a competitor's site, Northern Tool, and showed a different associate that I could get 20 off there with a coupon, and the other store was less than 5 minutes away. They talked to who I believe was the department manager, and they approved it. So then I make my way over to the registers and tell the associate what the others said, and she calls over her higher up. Enter Karen, haircut and all. Me. I was told by that associate that I could get 20 because a competitor has it at a better price. Karen, in a part mocking, part baby tone voice, no, that's a coupon, it has to be the actual price of the item. They don't know what they're talking about, I'm the financial supervisor. They say on their website they accept competitors' coupons. Me, okay then, I'll just go put it back. So, I do so, and head back to the car. While leaving the store, she droops her head down, makes that puppy dog / poor you face and says I'm sorry. I'm sorry you could save money. I wanted to flip her off so bad. I decide, you know what, she's not a manager, let me go talk to customer service. So I go to the desk, and this is how the conversation goes. Me, hey, I was trying to get 20 off a 750 mower, I was told it was okay by 2 associates, but then your supervisor over there said absolutely not. Customer service guy, okay, let me see this mower. I can give you 50 off. So, he goes, looks at the mower, and goes back to ring me up. We have a good conversation about cars, and I walk out of the store, and Karen doesn't say a word. TL doctor, Karen won't give me 20 a mower because she wants to power trip. I talk to customer service and get 50 off. Edit. Holy crap, this is now my most upvoted post. Thank you all for the kind words. This is way back in 2nd or 3rd grade, and I went home with my best friend every day. We had been friends since kindergarten, and we were inseparable. Anyways, he got all the Harry Potter books on a CD and had listened to them all, while I was still on the 4th or 5th book. He told me that Dumbledore died, and something else about Voldemort, and I was ready to kill him. So, I taught his dog to grab onto shorts and pull down. His dog loved me and was really smart, so she learned it in no time. Now, it's my friend's birthday, and he's invited everyone. We're having a Nerf gunfight, and I give his dog the signal. I went to his house almost every day, so the dog thought I was family. She ran up to him, grabbed his shorts in her mouth, and yanked down. Later I told him that I taught the dog that trick, and if he ever spoiled another book for me I would give the command again. He never spoiled another book series, and we're still great friends to this very day. Growing up, my little sister's favorite CD was Dixie Chicks Fly. When it was her turn to use the stereo in the living room, she would play it on repeat non-stop. Every single day. No amount of pleading, begging or bribery would get her to stop, and it quickly became unbearable. To this day, I still can't stand Goodbye Earl. So I stole her CD, and hid it away in an empty jewel case, leaving her the original case so she would think she had merely lost the CD. And it worked. For 3 years, I enjoyed the beautiful bliss of no Dixie Chicks on repeat, and it was amazing. Thank goodness there wasn't another CD she liked nearly as much. After 3 years, I gifted the CD back to her for Christmas and came clean about my plot. Was she mad? Totally. Did she immediately play the CD on repeat for the rest of Christmas? Absolutely. Did our mom take a leaf out of my book and spirit the CD away permanently a few weeks later? Possibly, but she won't admit it. My place of work is a big department store in the UK. I mainly worked on women's shoes, but I'm also till trained and would sometimes be asked to work on the tills whenever it was busy. This day happened to be very busy, so I was asked by my supervisor to help out on the tills. How long I remained on tills for depended on how many customers were queued up. This could last any time between 10 minutes to half an hour. Due to it being extremely busy that day, I remained on the tills until my shift finished. Once my shift ended, I signed off my till and started to walk towards the staff exit so I could clock out for the day. With the way the building was laid out, it was a bit of a walk from the till to the door, but I didn't mind it too much. As I was walking, a lady approached me asking if we had any of the travel bottle sets. These were basically a pack of empty plastic bottles that people would fill with shampoo and shower gel, which they would then take on holiday with them. Usually I don't know much about specific items in other departments. However, part of my job when the shoe department wasn't too busy was to put out baskets of stock in other departments, so if I've seen an item and someone approaches me later about it, I can help them out. Luckily this happened to be one of the items where I knew the location of, and while usually I just want to get out of there when my shift is over and ask another colleague to help out, it wasn't too far out of my way as the department it was in was right in front of me and the lady was extremely nice, so I didn't mind going the extra mile. I went into the beauty department with the lady and was able to locate the item and handed it to her. The lady was so grateful that she threw her arms up and pulled me into a hug. This actually surprised me at first because in retail this very rarely happens. The most you get from people is a thank you, and it's also more common for people to complain about bad customer service than for them to compliment good customer service. She let me go and smiled at me before going on her way. I made my way to the exit, clocked out and headed home. I know this wasn't particularly eventful, I just thought it would be nice to share a more wholesome story as it's very rare to see stories like that in retail. Also, I know this was a few years ago, but lady, if you're still out there, just know that you really made my day. A guy called wanting to get some money back on a product he was dissatisfied with. I asked him what the product was. It was a pool drainage system. My company is a vehicle manufacturer, we don't have anything to do with pools. I told him this and he freaked out. Me, I'm afraid we don't make pool systems here, I believe you have the wrong number. Him, is this XYZ? Me, this is XYZ Incorporated. Him, you guys make pools. XYZ Pool and Chemical Suppliers. I'm on your website right now. Me, no, this is XYZ Incorporated. We make vehicles and vehicle accessories. Him, no you don't. Stop lying, I'm getting my money back and you're gonna take your crap back. Me, sir, you've called the wrong company, we don't have anything to do with pools. We're a vehicle manufacturer. Him, you don't make cars, you make pools. Now send me to someone who can actually help me. Me, you've called the wrong company, no one here can help you. Him, get me your superior, now. Me, I am in charge, you have the wrong company. He screamed something I couldn't understand, threatened to sue, and hung up. Happened once with a bottle of wine that had gin in it. Then he was sick in the night because he had over 10 cans of beer and blamed it on the food he ate later. Liar. Few weeks later he takes another one. Says sorry next morning and said he'll replace it. That's not the point though. Got another housemate who said he fancies me last night. Now I'm trying to avoid them both but really struggling too. Thinking about moving back in with my parents until I find a place of my own. They are high risk so can't. Both of these are around 50 and I feel so uncomfortable. Frown. Sorry but this was written on my phone. I'll keep it short. Had an upcoming guest let us know that he would be receiving a box and for us to hold it. Box arrives and that same day he calls asking for our email address. When asked why, he stated that he has a UPS label for the box that was sent to us. I asked are you not checking it and he replied yes but I need the box sent to me. This raises all kind of red flags so I started to do some digging around. The new UPS label had the same first name and a different last name, also it was being mailed to a business. I searched and the business doesn't exist but the name, very unusual name, showed up as someone that lives in the town that the hotel is located in. I do some more sleuthing and reach out to the local person. They are a little freaked out by what I tell them and thank me. Later they let me know their credit card had an unknown charge and that the company that sent the box will send a return label. The local person was able to put a hold on their card and the bad guys lost. This makes me very happy. DL, doctor, scammer didn't get the box and local person got alerted to fraudulent credit card charges. Update, the scammer just called to ask why his package was not forwarded. I had my GSA put him on hold for 10 minutes and then I picked up the phone. As I mentioned he wanted to know what happened and I told him it was a scam and that the authorities have been notified. Let him suck on that. So with everything going on I've been ordering takeout 1 to 2 times a week, usually through Grubhub. Most of the places I order from just take the orders from Grubhub and then have one of their employees deliver directly. I always check the contact-free delivery option and add a note asking to leave the food on my doorstep. I would say so far it's about 50-50 when it comes to drivers actually doing this, meaning some still ring the bell and wait there for me to answer the door and hand me the food. The main reason this stresses me out is not because I'm worried about getting sick from the person, but because pretty much every time this happens, there's a little awkward moment after the person hands me the food where it seems like they're expecting me to hand them a tip. The thing is, I always /tip via card when I order the food, and very generously. The whole point is that I don't want to have to hand them cash that I handled. So while I get that the drivers may either not see the fact that I requested no contact delivery or just forget, I always feel like an ass because I'm not sure if they know I already tipped and think I'm stiffing them. If you can't tell, I'm an anxious person and this always makes me feel bad, haha. Just looking for some advice if this happens again. Should I just start tipping exclusively in cash and leave it on the doorstep so there's no confusion? Or if I tip with card and this situation occurs, is it okay to be like, hey sorry I don't have much cash so I included your tip with the order? Thanks. Yesterday, I was shopping in a hardware store for some LED bulbs. It was taking a while because the ones I wanted weren't exactly common. They ended up only having one that fit what I needed. Behind me were furnace filters. As I am studying all the bulbs trying to find the one I need, a middle-aged lady got my attention. I look over and she asks, is this a furnace filter? She is holding in her hands a furnace filter. I say, well, I don't work here, but yeah, that is a furnace filter. Do you know what size you need? She said, oh good, I knew I needed this size, but wasn't sure if this was for a furnace. I know you don't work here, but you're a guy, so I knew you would know the answer. Thankfully for her, I did indeed know the answer. Also thankfully, she didn't ask me any more questions about furnaces, because she exhausted my limited knowledge on the subject. So I run a small underwear brand and have been growing since January. When the bad thing that everyone is talking about right now hit, sales dropped dramatically, but picked back up in about mid-April. Now one customer ordered from me and received his item, but he picked the wrong size. I wanted to send him a return label to send it back to the warehouse and I'd replace them free of charge. Here's what he emailed me. You must have a lot of things to work on and that maybe the return is going to make you incur in some expenses that might be key in small business like yours. I have been thinking about it and I think size S is going to fit me, and if I really like them next time I order I can ask for M size. I don't know what you think? I know you wanted to provide the best service and I know it was my mistake to not check correctly the size when I order the briefs. For sure I will give a review after I try them, I think that can help your business to grow. Amazingly enough, he ended up reordering and referring a friend. After dealing with people abusing the return policy, it's such an incredible feeling to have a customer want to support you during hard times. As a business owner, shout out to all you amazing customers. Companies like, the largest online shopping platform in the world, have made the merchant an anonymous party and people forget there's a person on the other end of customer inquiries. Here's to all you amazing people. Edit, some of you guys have reached out and even made a purchase, thank you so much. As a fellow retail worker, retail business owner, worked in retail for all of high school, now starting this, it's an awesome feeling that it creates a strong community. Not sure if it's allowed to just put the link here, but the site is getnooks.com. I am posting this a month after it happened, now that his injury is somewhat healed and I feel less like a monster. My boyfriend and I are pretty playful. We especially enjoy attempting martial arts on each other that we were loosely taught long ago as teenagers. However, we are nowhere near hardcore and I'll tap out pretty easily. The boyfriend, on the other hand, does not tap out easily, which I hate because I do not really want to hurt him. One quarantine morning, I walked into the kitchen, crept up behind my boyfriend, and wrapped my arms around his neck. He didn't make a noise or tap out. Instead he slowly went limp and fell to the floor on his side. I thought he was playing around and just pretending to be out. This part really makes me cringe. So I played along and kicked him in the side, obviously not hard. He didn't respond. A few seconds later he bolted up with his arms flailing about. He looked absolutely panicked as if he was just violently transported to a foreign kitchen. And yet I still thought he was playing, though I should have known he isn't capable of such great acting. He kept asking what just happened, while he reached out trying to get a feel for where he was. I guess by the umpteenth time I realized he wasn't playing and I calmed him down. He told me the last thing he remembered was my arms around him and that's when he blacked out. When he got up finally, he felt a lot of pain in his ankle. He went to the doctor and they ruled out a head injury. The poor ankle kept him on crutches for about a week and it's almost healed completely now. Surprisingly enough, he was not angry at me for going too far. In fact, he bragged to his friends about how proud he is of me. I now know that despite my itty-bitty muscles, I can still take a man down, as long as he stands perfectly still while I choke him. And yes, since the incident I have continued to accidentally injure him multiple times and without the use of martial arts, including a time we were in bed and his cat bit my foot so I jerked my leg away and managed to knee my boyfriend in the eye. When will my reign of terror ever end? DL, Doctor, I choked my boyfriend until he blacked out. This isn't as crazy as some of the stories on this sub, but I thought I might share anyways. So one day, about 2 years ago, I was going out to my local Giant Eagle for some open interviews they were having, worked in a call center at the time, and was applying for some back-of-house positions to escape customer service. My mom was with me as she's usually my ride whenever I need to go somewhere, and she needed to go shopping anyways. I get done with my interview around the time my mom finishes her shopping, and so we go to the self-checkout together. I'm helping her bag, sorting everything into the cart, when I notice an older guy trying to get my attention, him shopping with presumably his wife. Figuring they're older, they might need more help with bagging than my mom does, and I decided to go see what he was needing. He then hands me a rack of ribs, telling me that they don't want it anymore. I'm confused, because that's not what I was expecting at all. I start looking around for an employee, and there are none in sight. Not knowing what else to do, after a minute I end up handing the guy his meat back, and inform him that I don't work there. He looks at me for a second, realizes that he messed up and takes it back, apologizing for the mistake. I went back to helping my mom and she laughed a little when I told her in the car. I saw an employee going to help them as I was leaving. It was a simple mistake, because I was actually wearing a black polo for the interview, and their uniforms are just black polos with the branding on the chest and a little bit of red trim. I work at a used bookstore in which people come sell us books. If a customer places a bag of books on the counter and slide them over to me, I politely ask them to remove them from the bag. It's not that I'm lazy, but I have no idea what is in that bag, just trying to be safe. Today, I had to ask a customer to take the books out of her bag and she did. As I'm sorting her books, I notice a used feminine pad stuck to the book I was holding. I tried to act like I didn't see anything, not sure if she noticed, and set the book aside. She then picked up the book wondering what the item was and removed the pad, then set the book down. Couldn't buy her books regardless of the unfortunate item. This is why you never reach into bags that are not yours. Some people are gross. Previous post. I'm proud to say that we won the battle in the war. He called again yesterday and my boss took the order. As soon as I saw the ticket I knew who it was and was bracing myself for a new trial. 10 painstaking minutes later and I see him walking in. We go through the normal interaction. Time for the payment. He reaches into his wallet and takes out his card. I'm so thankful I had a mask on because I was grinning like an idiot. It's a short update, but the moral of the story is, being petty pays off. I was sitting in my room yesterday deeply unmotivated and did not want to do anything but lay in bed, so I ended up deciding to order takeout at a local restaurant that I love. It's this really cute family-run Chinese place and they recently reopened for takeout. I haven't had Chinese food in a while and I probably won't, because I'm not good at cooking Chinese food, so I ordered a massive amount of food. Like actually an insane amount. I think the total bill was around $130, which is a lot for one person. I was just planning on buying some and saving for later on in the week or freezing some because I rarely go out. Anyways, I get to the store and the owners were extremely nice and accommodating. They gave me extra portions of rice and they also had some leftovers from another order that they just gave me for free. I was so incredibly grateful and happy. They handed me this iPad sort of situation and it was automatically set to 15% for tip, but I wanted to give them more, so I manually entered the amount of 25%. I also had them text me a receipt so I could have a record of it later for myself. I went home and I demolished the entire meal. Later that night, I looked at the receipt and I was horrified to find out that I had only tipped 25 cents, on a $130+ order. I couldn't even begin to imagine how the owners and workers of the restaurant had felt about that. Anyways, today, I went back and gave them the tip in cash. DL, Doctor, went to a local Chinese restaurant for takeout and owners were incredible nice to me. I repaid them by tipping 25 cents on a $130 takeout order because I thought I was tipping 25%. I have a good one. Happened not too long ago. Young guy, early 20s. I've seen him in the drive-thru before depositing a check to a girl's account. Okay, sure, no problem, it's only a deposit. This day, he came into the lobby and I called him from the line since I didn't have a car in the drive-thru. He hands me a debit card and says he wants to take money out of the checking account. Card is upside down so I quickly see there's no photo or signature and ask him for his ID. He replies that he doesn't have it with him. Fine, I turn over the card to type in the number to pull up the checking account, and notice that it's a girl's name, the same name on the account he made a deposit to a few days before in the drive-thru. When I ask him who the card belongs to, he says it's his girlfriend's card. Then I ask him if he's joined on the account. He gives me a blank look for a couple seconds and says no. I let him know that he can't be taking money out of an account that's not his. Then he starts going into a story about how the ATM won't give him any more money after taking $500 out, and his girlfriend's rent is due the next day. He keeps asking about why the ATM won't give him more money. I literally said, at least 3 times, that you can withdraw up to $500 at the ATM in a 24-hour period. So he'd have to wait or have his girlfriend come into the bank in the next hour before we closed for the day. He starts to get a little upset. I only need $500. By this time, I could clearly see he's just not getting it. So I had to be a little more blunt. I'm sorry, but you either have to wait until tomorrow and withdraw from the ATM again, or you can have your girlfriend come in before we close. You can't fill out our withdrawal slip to take out money from an account that's not yours. That's not legal. I, of course, get another blank look from him for, I swear, 5 full seconds. Then he says but she doesn't think she can get ready in time to get here before you close. I just say sorry and repeat, yet again, everything I've told him, stressing the not legal part. He gets fed up and goes on his merry way. I really do my very best to provide great customer service, but when common sense is lacking and my explanations are ignored, I wish I could tell people to go back to school and take a special course. Common Sense and Finances 101. It boggles the mind that people think they can come into a bank and actually try to do this. I can hardly believe people just hand over their debit and ATM cards to another person either. A nursing supervisor friend of mine was working at our hospital. She told me this story. A patient died and was taken to the morgue in the basement. He was a recent code blue from the ER. The family arrives later that night and asks to see the patient in the morgue. Some people need closure. The nursing supervisor escorts the family to this locked and restricted area in the basement. It's close to midnight and the family wailing, overcome by grief. They are so upset he died and want to blame someone. They collectively grab the body partially wrapped in plastic. They said they want to throw him on the front lawn and call the press to expose the hospital for perceived wrongdoing. They start running down the hall, the body in tow. This basement is a literal maze of hallways containing laundry, kitchen facilities, medical supplies and even a loading dock for supplies to be delivered. There are many locked areas which make it a confusing place to negotiate. It was like the Keystone Cops or a Scooby-Doo scene, going in and outdoors, running up and down various hallways with the nursing supervisor in pursuit. The family were unable to find a way out. They finally gave up, and the patient was returned to the morgue. I work at a small-town coffee shop that has managed to adapt and stay busy during COVID-19 by utilizing a window for walk-up service. A regular problematic customer, let's call him TJ, is a typical middle-aged man riddled with toxic masculinity. He often makes female employees and customers uncomfortable with his comments. Lately he's been around a lot, being typical TJ. Today he came to our window and ordered a coffee. Cool, nothing out of the ordinary. A co-worker asked him if he would like to tip via our Square register. We normally don't verbally ask customers, but with the current pandemic we are not allowing customers to touch our iPad system. He proceeded to tell her to put 100, and reassured them he wanted to tip that much because he appreciates our hard work and effort and wants to chip in since our business has been a bit slower. Okay, I gave him that and almost have a change of heart about TJ. We both outwardly thank him and he goes on his way. I text my boss about this uncharacteristic interaction with TJ, and through their end of the register system she was able to look at the transaction. They noticed that not only was the credit card he used not in his name, but in his boss's name, on their company card. Typical TJ. What a D-bag. If you've ever lived in a party house, you know those people that think it's okay to raid the kitchen for any alcohol once the party bottles run out. Usually it's the end of the night, so we developed a plan to just send those types of folks packing. A typical conversation went like this. Them rummaging around in our fridge and cabinets. Me, hey, looking for something? Them, yeah man, trying to find some more alcohol in this place. Those bottles are all empty. Me, so you're raiding our cabinets? NVM. I have a bottle upstairs, you want some of that? Them, yes. Anything. Insert drunk rambling here. Me, are you sure? It's really strong stuff. Might make you puke. Them, puke? What you think this is amateur hour? Me, right, no amateurs here, gotcha. One condition though, you have to drink it outside, okay? Them, yeah man, whatever, just get it. I grab a nondescript bottle of clear alcohol from upstairs, come down and pour shots. Me, here you go, take these outside, enjoy. Housemate had a crazy tolerance for spicy. When we went to Thailand they kept bringing him hotter and hotter chilies to try like it was a game show. He ate and chewed them raw no problem. So he brought home a bunch of the spiciest ones and made 5 gallons of Thai chili moonshine. Turns out fermenting them in alcohol was too spicy even for him, and certainly too spicy for these flips raiding our kitchen. 100% success rate in shutting down the stragglers, added in the outside rule after learning our lesson, giving it to people indoors. It's not even June, and I already feel like I'm done with people this year. If I were to guess, I would suppose that my hotel is on a record pace on having to call the police on guests, because they don't know how to behave. If it were guests in their 20s I would be more understanding, but it's people at a much older age. The following is not going to be entirely original, yet it's frustrating all the same. I arrived to 9 odd at last night to find a couple police cars already in the carport. I'm already feeling that familiar sense of dread. I buckled up for my shift and went inside. I found out from the night shift that room number 611 has a group of 40-plus-year-olds that have chosen to ignore multiple warnings not to smoke in the room. Guests aren't even entitled to warnings, because it's noted on their registration card to not smoke in the room. Despite the hotel trying not to be the bad guy and automatically applying a $250 smoking fee for their own admitted smoking, the night shift gave them multiple warnings to knock it off. All of these warnings were disdained. They were also repeatedly told to decrease the noise in the room, especially the music. This, as well, was disdained, and the music would be cranked back up minutes after the warnings. The security guard in I stood, was berated for 15 minutes and was called personal insults. When the people in the room stopped answering the attempts to warn them, the next step was to call the police and evict them. The police came and confiscated the weed and told them to get out. And #X200B. These people traveled all the way from Ohio to Florida and acted like this on their first night at our hotel. We charged them for one night and the $250 smoking fee. They said they were going to talk to a manager to dispute the charge. This is funny because they admitted it to multiple people at multiple times, including on their way out. The police can even confirm it. Yet, they probably think they are innocent somehow. The topper? I found out a different guest was washing his beach cooler out in our pool, despite walking past 2 outdoor showers. I'm almost done with this year already. I don't remember if it was a post or in a comment. I think it was told as their mom's adventure with a very whiny friend. I recall they met a guy in a red truck and he offered them a ride. The mom had a bad feeling but the whiny friend insisted they accept cause her feet were sore or something. While in the car I think they spotted some kind of weapon under the seat, maybe a machete. I don't remember how but they got out and managed to lose the guy. After a while they go back to their car. Her friend wanted to go but the mom had a bad feeling because the same truck was parked very close to their car. They stayed hidden behind trees a long time, just looking at their parking spot, so her friend kept telling her to just go to the car until at some point their car door opened, and the man got out from their backseat and went in his truck and left. It was quite an interesting story and I'd like to read it again, but I know it's a long shot. First time posting, currently a EMS dispatcher for a private ambulance company for 3 years now. We take some calls, however, they're usually seizures, psych, and falls. This one? Probably should have been psych, but unfortunately she wasn't the patient. This call happened in my first year, while I was pretty fresh and didn't understand the power of controlling a call. And #X200B. Me, okay, tell me exactly what happened. CLR, yeah, my mom fell in the other room, you know we have her locked in there right now, but yeah she fell and I think she may have hit her head. Me, okay, are you with her now? CLR, well, you see, she has dementia, and we live in a new home, so she is locked in there. You see, we can't have her wandering because of the bears that are around here. Me, have you gone to check on her yet? CLR, no, I can't unlock her door because she will get out and the bears will get her. Me, can you please go check on the patient? CLR, yeah, I think she might have hit her head, it sounded like she hit the end table, that's what woke me up, but even our big dog, insert large dog brand, is afraid to go outside because there are bears here at this new house. Please send the ambulance but make sure they get in and out quick because the bears will get them. Rinse and repeat for literally every one of the 10 questions involved with a fall. I was essentially working with a third-party caller as she flat out refused to unlock her mother from the room until the EMTs got there, let alone even go look at her. And #X200B. I kid you not, I heard way more about these bears than I ever got out of her regarding her fallen mother. While I may have wanted to bash my head into the desk repeatedly asking her the questions, now I can have a good belly laugh over it. From what I do remember though, Mom was transported alright, and no EMTs were mauled by the darn bears. So, I recently hired by a company to be an inbound CSR for a retail company. I worked for this company in the recent past and I was hired by a BPO, to work for them again. I'm both loving it and dreading it because some of those customers are still triggering me. Anyway. I'm in training at the moment and we had to set up a mock ticket, as a group activity, Everything went fine until I had to note the steps I took in the ticket and not just say what the customer called in about and what the solution was. One of my fellow classmates uttered a variation of the title to me when I started to put in a notice to the exact steps I took to get the result. I sat there stunned. This person, by their own admission, had worked in a call center before and had no idea why they had to note the ticket. I understand that all CC have differing policies when it comes to notation, but all of the CC I have worked for required you to note almost everything. I gently tried to explain why you needed to note, because someone might come behind you and need the solution you found, so someone could follow along, see your reasoning, etc. After trying to explain to this person all the reasons, I stopped and said, because it's to see ya. They continued to press that there was no need to do it. I just kept saying that it's see ya. Finally, they said that they got it. I don't think they do. I think they just gave up and are going to be surprised when they get their QA scores. I need to start drinking again. /business process outsourcing, a company that handles part of your business, like customer contacts. Customer, hi, I'm here to pick up a medication for my wife. Me, awesome, can I get her info? Customer, yes, her name is Susan, not her actual name. / looks up medications to pick up / Me, okay, she has one medication to pick up, I'll go grab it. Smile. Customer, oh, she told me she had two, are you sure it's only one? Me, that's odd, come on over with me and let me check, we might have missed it. / start to scavenge through her profile, third-party rejections, asking the pharmacist if anyone called in anything for Susan for the next 5 minutes as the customer watches me / Me, sir, I'm sorry, I don't see a second prescription called in for your wife. Customer : Yeah, it's for a dog. / stares at him / Why the hell didn't you say that before? I'm a manager for a big chain and honestly, I don't know if I'll go back. I've been fed up with the late nights, weekends and holidays since I was promoted. I really don't want to go back to that life. I also am worried about corporate making us do some ridiculous policies we just aren't qualified for. Rumors about temperature checks, not letting people in who have a cough, etc. I hate the guests. I'm fed up with their stupid questions and bogus complaints. The only problem is the theater is my only work experience and I don't have a college degree, so I have literally nothing to fall back on, which sucks. Do you think you'll go back? Managers, supervisors, crew? Why or why not? Hope you're all staying safe out there. In my grandparents' house, they have a series of books displayed quite prominently. I was told many times by various family members that this was because my grandfather had written them. I believed this because the author's name was my grandfather's name, our surname is quite rare, and because they were historical non-fiction books. My grandfather has a history degree. History was never really my thing, but I was proud of him for having had so many books published. When he died a few years ago, in a moment of sentimentality, I bought my own copies of the entire book series, cost me over £100. I did this to remember him by and so that one day I could show them to my own children. Over the years, I've read bits and pieces of them, but not cover to cover. When visiting my grandmother and other relatives, we've talked about these books many times as I considered it a major accomplishment of his. Today, I was flicking through one of them out of boredom, when I found the author biography bit at the start. I'd never read this before, as I thought it would be stuff I already knew. However, I read it today. It listed accomplishments I'd never realized that he'd had in people I'd never heard of, but made no mention of anyone in our family. I was a little confused, so asked my uncle about it. Turns out, my grandfather wasn't the author. They were written by a completely different guy who we have absolutely no relation to but happens to have the same name as my grandfather. When I asked my uncle why everyone had told me my grandfather had written them, he told me that it was a family joke and they thought I knew that and was just playing along. Now I have an entire, pretty expensive, book series written by some random guy on a subject I, frankly, don't find that interesting. Doctor, I bought a book series I thought my grandfather wrote, to remember him by, but it turns out he didn't write them. That's really it. My first fine dining job, I worked there for about 5 months. 1 as a server assistant and 4 as a server. I was really starting to understand the menu and improve on my wine knowledge. My co-workers have all been so supportive as I've been growing in my position. I'm not 21 yet, so I've gotten a lot of extra help regarding bar stuff. I felt like an actual salesperson and talented server for the first time in my restaurant career. We're a part of Landry's, so I really thought we'd be safe. Closed pretty soon after quarantine started to do takeout only, and then shut down until further notice after that. Today, they decided to shut our doors for good. Damn it. Bartender at a local pizza joint. My buddy came in after a long day dealing with his 2 sick little girls. He tells me a story from today about the littlest. She's screaming for him from the bathroom. She states she's been waiting for 60 years for him. All she wanted was a cheese pizza from our place. Since they were sick, he went with something more appropriate for upset stomachs. But you can guarantee I got him a gift certificate for a cheese pizza for her when she's better. Nice to have good customers to even out the bad ones, lol. I worked in housekeeping in a hotel for months up until this past week. I'm now 35 weeks pregnant. I was scheduled to work 5+ days a week, with 20+ rooms to myself. I came into work recently, because I was on the schedule, and I could barely walk, I couldn't bend my back and my ankles were hugely swollen. I had been in L&D the night before to stop contractions. We didn't have many rooms, but 5 housekeepers in-house. Everyone was almost begging my manager to send me home, as we had too many housekeepers for the amount of rooms. Now, I'm huge at this point in pregnancy. I can't bend too far forward in general. My manager and I, discussed a couple weeks ago that she didn't want me cleaning bathtubs, so I was to have another housekeeper come clean my bathtubs. No biggie, I was fine with that. Well, the day before I quit I had went to find another HK to help with a bathtub. Said manager stopped us in the hall and asked what we were doing socializing on the clock. We explained that she was going to clean a bathtub for me and would go right back to her rooms. She yelled at me and said that if I can't do my job, I need to quit so that she can hire someone who's willing to work. I explained that it wasn't that I wasn't willing to work, rather that's one small task that I myself struggle with accomplishing. She didn't care. She continued yelling at me. Now, I've always hated being yelled at, so I spent the rest of my shift crying while cleaning my rooms. I got home from work, still crying. My boyfriend became extremely upset as I told him what had happened. We decided that it's in the best interest of our child that I just be done, as it's a lot of emotional trouble as well as physical. So I gave my manager her wish, and I went in and handed in my scrubs and quit. She seemed sympathetic, said she understood, was sad to see me go, and for me to come talk to her after I was released from maternity leave. Fast forward to today, another HK at said hotel was talking to this manager, while recording the conversation to send to me. She asked if I would be back after baby. The manager told her that I was lazy and a crybaby so she would never consider hiring me back. I'm glad I quit. I feel like I dodged a bullet. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to convince myself to work in housekeeping again. Just got a brand new phone a week or two ago. Expensive, no insurance, long contract, by all regards it's temporarily precious to me. I usually don't pee with no hands. But this particular morning I'm in the nude and was on my phone. I just needed the proper stance with steady hips over the toilet, with toilet seat up, to pee successfully and allow me to be on my phone with 2 hands. Unfortunately, I was still kinda groggy and I start to fumble my phone directly over the toilet. I quickly go into oh shoot mode and make every attempt to catch it, swatting at it multiple times before finally saving it inches above the toilet bowl. Catastrophe was avoided. However, the damage was done. While I made every effort to save the phone, I completely ignored the fact I was midstream and was peeing everywhere uncontrollably as I swung my arms and body wildly trying to save it. I peed on just about everything. Toilet rim, seat, floor, walls, cabinets, trash can, etc. Ended up cleaning the whole bathroom just to be sure I cleaned it all up. TL, doctor almost dropped my phone in the toilet while peeing with no hands. Saved the phone, but peed the whole time and none of it got in the toilet. I am 14. I am a certified referee in my state. I know the rules as I've played by them my whole life along with taking the officiating classes. At our park district, no headers for ages below 11. But in U12, it is up to the referee's discretion. So if it's a small tap it's okay. That is exactly what happens. So the coach behind me screams at the top of his lungs there are no headers in U12 5 to 16 times. I ignore him. Though I could eject him. It was last game of the season and I didn't care. After a bit of yelling, he says fine, go duck yourself then which I turn and tell at him for saying in front of you 11 kids. I wish I sent him away or ended the match. Sadly I didn't do much and my partner is a longtime referee, officiated my matches as I grew up, and he is deaf. So he has no idea what happened. The person who runs Park District in my area has been informed and is taking action. I worked the night shift and this day I pulled a double doing first shift too. I work at a decently priced 2-star hotel that is franchised. Been working with my manager to make our owners happy and keep revenues up. We live in a big city where the guest will steal everything even if it's nailed down. We're one of the few hotels in the area that will take just cash and don't need a credit card. We relaxed a lot of policies and fees corporate put in place. So I have a guest that comes in after my audit and wanted a room, not wearing a mask mind you and a local. I told her the rates after tax and if she wanted for the remand of the day and full day she could pay an additional amount, not even half the regular amount. She takes it, most come in after audit thinking they're getting the whole day anyway. I'm halfway through my additional shift and she calls down saying she was looking through our pricing online and that she felt scammed. We are a franchise and they prices online aren't ours. Half the time they're lower and showing our cheapest data room. She tears into me for a few good minutes. I'm not sure if she even knew she was talking to me, the same person that checked her in. My head housekeeper could even hear this woman through the phone. I get so much trouble working as night auditor, I've become wary of people. I work at a chain restaurant in GA, and while we technically follow the rules, guests spaced out, masks provided for us, I still feel like this was a really bad idea to open back up in the middle of a pandemic. Firstly, there is no rule or oversight to get the servers to wash their hands after bussing dishes from the table. Most of the people I work with will drop the dishes off and go straight to touching the trays or bread tongues afterwards, usually only washing their hands if they get something physically gross on them. Secondly, I've not seen anyone sanitize the trays we use to drop off food at all during the shifts. I think this is one of the most important things to do because we touch them right before we hand the food to people. Also, while they do require us to wear masks, most of the employees will pull them down under their chin once they can't be seen by the customers anymore, including the managers. The masks they provide are the cheap little disposable ones, but one of the managers hinted that we could stick them in our pocket and use them again for next shift. Lastly, because we are in GA, everyone asks, "Have you gotten to go back to work yet?" And then acts surprised when I'm not super happy to put myself in harm's way just so corporate won't lose a little money. Obviously I don't say this to people in serving. Not me, but witnessed my bar manager go through this. Customer: "Excuse me, I've been waiting ages and you served everyone except me." Bar manager: "I'm sorry love, what do you want?" C: "I'm not your love." Stares. BM: "I'm sorry, can I get you anything?" C: "I think it's awful how you ignore customers who have been waiting for so long." BM: "I didn't realize you had been waiting so long, what can I get you?" C: "Well, I think this is awful, 5 people must have come after me and been served." BM: "I apologize again, I'll get you your drinks now, what would you like?" C: "For free?" BM: "Sorry, I can't do them for free." C: "Why not? I've had to wait for so long, it's the least you can do." BM: "I don't think it works like that, do you want any drinks or not?" C: "Of course I do, why do you think I was waiting at the bar? But I don't think I should have to pay." BM: "You can either buy a drink or stand away from the bar, I'm afraid, that's all we can offer." C: "Fine. But I don't want you to serve me." BM: "Why not?" C: "Because you're incompetent, you don't know what you're doing." BM: "Well, everyone else here didn't serve you fast enough either, what difference does it make who pours your drinks?" C: "Well, I've just said, anyone but you. Now get somebody else." BM: "Well, the other staff are busy mixing drinks, so you'll have to wait if you want them." C: "Are you kidding? Flip you." BM: "Flip me? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Commence ranting and shouting, followed by the bouncer escorting her out. Before I start, this isn't a pity me story, I'm fine. I want to share this because it was ridiculous. I'd met this guy, let's call him DG for delusional guy. I was 16 at the time, he seemed alright, and back then I didn't see the red flags as red flags. So naturally, when he started opening up to me about his abusive ex-girlfriends and how he was such a nice guy and they took advantage of it, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Boy, was I wrong. Fast forward to a year later, DG asks me out and I say yes. Over the course of 2 years, he started creating problems where there weren't any, all the time. He was always the poor victim, I was always wrong. Eventually it got to a point where he'd get mad for anything that didn't involve paying attention to him exclusively. Including sleeping. Always twisting it to make it look like it was the worst crime ever committed. He'd compare me a lot with his ex, let's call her Girl. Girl had supposedly tried to contact him again, but he didn't want anything to do with her because she was toxic and she cheated on him. Here's an example of him getting mad at me for problems he created himself. Once he sent me a random nude and I didn't want to anger him, so I reacted positively. And it became all about how he was a nice guy and I was treating him like a sex object. Few weeks later he sent me another nude, and since I didn't want to make him feel like a sex object I stayed neutral about it. And of course I was still a monster because I was making him feel unattractive and insecure. There was just no winning with him. I found a job in a fast food restaurant a couple years ago and I broke up with him shortly after, since I was seeing normal humans again, and of course I could suddenly see the entire relationship was far from normal. Not only that, but I found out Girl hadn't cheated on DG. He had cheated on her. She dumped him and he tried to get her back throughout our entire relationship. So much for not wanting to do anything with her, and she's trying so hard to contact me. He was also actively cheating on me with another girl. After I dumped him, he begged me to give him a chance but I said no. So he sent me a million texts whining about how he was such a nice guy again and he still cared even after how I treated him and I was a piece of shit. I just blocked him and refused to see him so he started sending his friends. He is still in complete denial and by now I'm probably another evil toxic ex who broke his heart in his feel-bad stories for his next girl. I work at a travel agency and due to the current situation with COVID-19 we get a lot of angry clients. I mainly work for the planning department but was asked to help our social media team these past 2 days. Every conversation is very frustrating and there is absolutely no respect from the customers at all. They all think their situation is very special and think we should make an exception on our strict policy to help them. Don't forget, if we make exceptions for everyone our company won't last a month, and will go bankrupt. So obviously after a long day of work you are very happy to finally be done with the shift. However 3 minutes before my shift was over a message was sent in our Microsoft Teams group by my boss to ask if everyone, including the social media team, could pick up a call since the queue got very long. At the exact same time another co-worker asked me privately if I was gonna do that, since his shift also was almost finished. I then sent the following message, "Dude, I am done in 3 minutes, and if she thinks I will pick up a call she's out of her mind." Not much later I realized this message was sent in the group, and not to the private conversation. I deleted the message but too late. I know my boss read it, but immediately logged off at the exact time my shift was done. Right now I'm very worried on what to expect tomorrow. DL, drive. A message that was meant for a co-worker in a private conversation accidentally was sent in a group chat, which my boss was in. It involved me calling my boss out of her mind because I didn't want to work overtime with only 3 minutes left on my shift. She read it before I could delete it. Okay, so this did in fact happen today. I am thrilled to finally be able to contribute. I work in design engineering so myself and all my co-workers have been carrying on with our work as usual just from our homes. With that comes a nice big group chat where we exchange memes about teleworking and other things related to our field that we would all find funny. This particular group chat has 16 members including myself. Today the network kept kicking us off intermittently. As you can imagine the group chat was bumping with memes about how if you could something blah blah network, that'd be great, and others just like it, you know the kind. I was involved in the group chat a bit, staying in the mix between what I had going on in front of me. With having very little to do the rest of the afternoon work-wise, I decided to send over a text inviting a girl I'm seeing to come fool around while I undoubtedly fail at getting back on the network long enough to get any more work done. We had plans for when I was off work so this would be me inviting her over earlier than originally planned. I typed up a quick text and hit send and went back to reading, thought nothing of it. After not getting a text back from the girl for 4 to 5 minutes I got curious and opened up her messages. The graphic text I had sent was nowhere to be found. That was when I noticed the group chat had a ton of new messages. All reactions GIFs in response to the fact that one of their co-workers just sent this text to a work group chat with 15 people in it. Wanna come over and flip between now and 4/4:30? Usually people complain about our field being male-dominated. I'm thrilled at the fact today, I can't imagine if someone decided to take offense to my obvious snafu. DL, Doctor, I accidentally texted a large group chat of my co-workers a graphic text inviting them over to have sex with me. Edit, typos, paragraphing, correcting awkward phrasing. DLDR, thousands of shop-level employees got laid off based on a computer algorithm the corporate office designed that doesn't factor in seniority and gives preference to certain employees. Store managers and corporate office employees were not affected at all by these layoffs. Please feel free to ask me any questions, I have lots of free time now. And #X200B. I work at it at Take 5 Oil Change, same thing as Jiffy Lube, for 5 years and was terminated yesterday along with 1,000 other lube techs. All the stores only have 1 to 3 people working there now. Nobody at the corporate level got let go, all the store managers are still working, and the rest was left up to a computer algorithm. I took pictures of our company's organizational charts in ADP before they locked me out, showing that corporate employees were not affected at all. The regional manager, who is in charge of over 60 stores, actually said that corporate's computers picked which assistant managers and lube techs would stay and which ones would be terminated with preference given to some assistant managers. I have no say in the matter. Apparently experience wasn't a factor in this algorithm. Lube techs who had worked there for more than 20 years got laid off while some techs who just started last year are still being employed. In the letter they sent out to everyone, they stated that all employees terminated will be considered for rehire subject to work history. They aren't even guaranteeing their jobs back, they're basically telling us we need to fill out an application again and hope for a callback. Does this seem pretty messed up, or is it just me? How can a company lay off people so easily without care? It sounds like they are using the current events as an opportunity to clean house and start fresh with new people once things settle down. I can't imagine a company anywhere that lets a computer tell them who can stay and who can leave during a layoff. I think what bothers me the most is that I know very well the expendable shop-level employees are only getting laid off so the company can afford to pay the management and corporate employees. They still have 10 employees on payroll making $70-80K a year for unit growth and development. This company is not doing any growing or expanding right now, couldn't they let some of those people go? Thank you for taking the time to read. I just really wanted to vent my frustrations. If what they are doing isn't illegal, then it is certainly the shadiest thing I have ever come across. One time in 9th grade social studies, each of us had to research a country and make a brochure on why you should visit, and it had to look nice and have facts and all that. So here I am thinking I could pick a nice country or one that's unique and I wanted to learn more about. Or maybe it would be random. But nope. The teacher assigned us each countries. So the stupid kids got Italy and France and shoot, and I got Mali. So I did a Google search and was incredibly disappointed to see that it was a corrupt country run by warlords and the country was starving and it was just such a mess. So I'm not pleased, and I talked to the teacher and asked if I could change, and she said no, and I attempted to explain how giving the more academically inclined kids harsher countries wasn't fair and somewhat degrading to the countries, and she's like, well, I gave the smarter kids more challenging ones because it's not fair to the other students in the class if you finish days before they do. Attempting to compromise, I asked if I could pick one that wasn't on the list that was more enticing, and she said no and was so mean and gave me such a hard time. So I did what I do best. I cheat the system. So I made the brochure but made it awful. I took pictures off of Google Images and found these people running from a militia and labeled it as join their locals for daily exercise routines and shoot like that, and made it so sarcastic and went so overkill, and everyone was shook, and the teacher held me after class and asked me to make one of a country of my choice that was more valid. Sunday morning I was standing at the front desk, waiting for checkouts, when one of our stayover guests came around the corner from the elevator griping, "This is ridiculous." She stepped up to the desk and started telling me that she hadn't said anything sooner because she just didn't want to deal with it, but she's convinced that the sofa sleeper mattress in her room is stained with blood, and she flashes me a couple photos on her phone. I couldn't tell if they were actually from one of our rooms or not, but I know that nobody has been stabbed to death on our property, so I was a bit skeptical. I couldn't leave the desk to go look for myself, so I explained that the phone would be on property in the afternoon and I would definitely have them speak with her. In spite of her initially claiming that she was afraid of catching who knows what from the stain or her hotel room, she seemed satisfied with this and went back upstairs. Until just after noon, when she came back down and started insulting me in front of another guest. She yelled at me that I had no empathy, yelled at me for standing there with a dumb look on my face, you name it. She claimed I had lied about the foam coming in that afternoon. And then pulled out her phone and started referring to me as this be to the person on the other end. She threatened to call the health department, and then corporate, about me and the hotel. So yes, I stood there silently, because what do you say to a guest that you know is defying their home state's stay-at-home order to visit a friend? A guest who has not once used a face mask or disposable gloves or even a free hand sanitizer on the counter when they've gone in and out of the hotel? A guest who has brought multiple visitors up to their room? A guest who has already used the allegedly dirty mattress for 2 days without saying anything? Cue the foam arriving a couple hours later, and he goes up to the guest's room to take a look. While there, she makes the same threats to him and now adds the BBB to the mix, but after he confirms that the stains are probably wine and definitely aren't blood, the guest decides she wants to check out. Your choice, ma'am. Monday morning arrives, and our executive HK shampoos that mattress, and the wine comes right out. But wait, this room had literally been occupied for 48 hours, it should have trashed somewhere, but the trash bags that were in the room are just gone. Maybe our hotel is haunted, because there were tied-up trash bags outside of 2 different rooms further down the hall. Rooms that were unoccupied. Rooms that had been unoccupied. One bag even had a wine bottle in it. So weird, right? When I was 17 I used to deliver for a well-known pizza place in the area. Of course Fridays were always insane and this Friday was supposedly going to be the biggest. Halfway through the night I got to deliver to a home for a specialty pie with 5 toppings. The bill came out to $35. Pizza was deep dish when given toppings, so the price was always jacked up, and was hopping for another good tip to bring my night to about $50. As I'm walking up to the door I can hear them trying to shush their dog. Usually whenever this were to happen it was common courtesy for the customer to come outside to avoid any issues with their dog. Well, they open the door and their 100-pound husky comes bolting out, jumps, bites my arm and then attacks the pizza. Luckily I was okay and very disoriented from the whole situation and wasn't sure what to do since the pizza was all over their front steps. They freaked out and continuously apologized. They informed me that they would call the store and order a new pie and pay for both and tip me extra. However, they sent me on my way without ever paying me. My 17-year-old mind was still messed up from getting attacked by their dog. Getting back to the store I find out they never called and we couldn't find their phone number to contact them. Got bit by their dog and ended up not making anything after it all.